Hey folks, welcome back. This is Chris in the Western Cape. A couple days ago, I returned to Cape Town International Airport and I picked up one of the free papers, of course, the Cape Times that you find at the airport. They put out there to get people to read it. So this is Cape Times. Now, interesting article here from the 12th of May. It says right on the front that U.S. grossly undermines South Africa, says the presidency. So there's the lead story above the fold on the Cape Times on the 12th of May. Trump administration accused of causing tensions with his plan to resettle Afrikaners. Really? So it wasn't Eskom, it wasn't the Vrede dairy farm scandal, it wasn't the asbestos tender deal in the Free State, it wasn't Zandile Gumeda's 178 criminal allegations, it wasn't Paul Mashatile's expensive mansions that no one can account for in the in Joburg and down here in the Western Cape. It wasn't criminal cases, it wasn't PPE theft. It wasn't any of these things. It wasn't gangsterism, it wasn't taxi mafia, it wasn't construction mafia. So the tensions caused with the Afrikaans community wasn't rural insecurity, farm murders, farm attacks. It was Donald Trump. Really? Apparently, I've missed history for the past 25 or 30 years. I don't know how I did that as a historian and a political scientist. I really have left myself out in the dark. How did I possibly miss that there were no tensions between Afrikaners and the government before 2025? I mean, I guess I just imagine that when in February of 2024, a bipartisan group of members of the House of Representatives introduced legislation to review the relationship with South Africa with an eye towards imposing sanctions on senior members of the government and the African National Congress. I guess I missed that. I mean, gosh, silly me. So it's only the Trump administration is causing these tensions, according to this news article. Well, and they're just reporting what the presidency had to say. The presidency has drawn a line in the sand on the ongoing standoff between South Africa and the U.S., saying the Trump administration was behind inflaming tensions among the two countries, especially in using the term refugee to describe those who have been invited to the U.S. Yeah, see, here's the problem with that, ladies and gentlemen. It wasn't the United States that allowed a Russian-sanctioned commercial cargo ship to deliver something in containers off the coast of South Africa at Simonstown Naval Base in the dark of night with special forces plated vehicles sitting outside that people took photographs of. And it wasn't the U.S. government that ignored the U.S. government for 5 months when they made polite diplomatic entrees to ask why that happened. It wasn't the U.S. government that destroyed Eskom. It wasn't the U.S. government that destroyed Transnet. It wasn't the U.S. government that wound up getting South Africa's ports rated 78th in the world, the worst amongst major shipping countries. It wasn't the U.S. government that did any of that. It was South Africa that did that to itself. These are what sports fans call own goals. The United States had nothing to do with that. Why are you blaming the United States for these tensions? The United States did not create these tensions. Trump did not create these tensions. It was not the United States that refused to sign an Article 98 waiver protecting U.S. military and politicians after the Rome Statute was adopted. It was not the United States that greedily and happily signed up to the Rome Statute, only to rubbish it when it was inconvenient when Bashir and others who were indicted came to South Africa. It wasn't the United States who did that. It was South Africa that did that. There's a whole host of other things. It wasn't the United States that allowed Chinese fighter pilots, communist pilots, to come to South Africa and train at a flight academy using U.S. and NATO pilots to train them. It was South Africa that allowed it to happen. It wasn't the U.S. So I really don't understand how the U.S. is inflaming tensions by pointing out these issues. They're not exactly state secrets. They're public knowledge. The fact that someone's articulating them doesn't make them the reason that they occur. These tensions long predate Donald Trump, and likely, the way things are going, will long exist after Donald Trump is off the stage in 4 years. Well, yeah, 3.5 years at this stage. So blaming Donald Trump for the problems that South Africa has created for itself is comical, to say the least. It's disingenuous at best. It's sad, truly sad. Donald Trump's not responsible for these issues. South Africans are. And South Africans can fix these issues. It's very easy. You remove BE, you train, equip, and fund the police so they have a living wage, and they're honest, and they have the resources to respond to crime. And then you actually prosecute the criminals and put them in jail. When you murder somebody, a life sentence is not 15 years, it's life. But not in South Africa. There's no disincentive. There's no deterrence to abhorrent behavior. And that's sad because it affects black, white, and brown South Africans, Christians, Muslims, and Jews. Venda, Xhosa, Zulu, Afrikaner, Portuguese, Khoi, San. Everybody's affected by this. Xhosa. It's time for adults to take charge in the government of South Africa and take responsibility for your failures. We have failures. We have a debt that's so enormous that our country has to change course or the entire global economy is going to collapse. The global financial system will collapse if the United States defaults on its debt. which isn't imminent, but we're on a path to get there. We must rectify that. We've also allowed racism and bigotry to become the order of the day in America before Trump came in office, where people are selected based on the color of their skin or their ethnic affiliation or their racial or their religious affiliation, not for the content of their character, as Dr. King argued for, not for their merit. It's eviscerated America's productivity, our efficacy, and our ability to compete on the world stage. The same thing has happened in South Africa. We have turned the page. It's time for South Africans to step forward and turn the page. And there's a government in place that can do this. It's up to them to change. Otherwise, the country heads to oblivion. And what a sad tragedy that would be for a country with such great human capital and such great potential. A place that many people love, including myself. And I wish all the best to South Africans. But blaming Donald Trump for tensions in the Afrikaner community with other folks is just poppycock and balderdash. What say you, South Africa, Zanzi? What do you guys have to say? God bless and have a good day.